Oh wow. I just forgot the literal word you used for that. Like your pocket money, so your income level can actually affect demand. Just imagine your parents gives you 100K and suddenly or at some point things get goes well or gets better, then that increases to 150K. Of course, what you demand for will definitely change. It will definitely increase because now you have more income. And if it's all things being equal, from 100K, your pocket money drops to 50K or 20K, of course, it will definitely affect your demand level. You won't be able to purchase more. You won't be able to spend like you do before. You won't be able to buy for this, buy for that, or get some things that I just feel like getting. Now you have to prioritize. I hope we are together. Okay, so we have prices of related goods. Yes, substitute and complement. When you're talking about substitute goods, you're talking about goods that can be replaced with another. You're talking about competitive goods. Basically, I guess the good examples we used to use mostly when we explain this is Bovita and Milo. Yes, if the price of Milo increases, of course, there's more demand of Bovita. And all these being equal, if the price of all these being equal, vice versa, the same thing will happen. If the price of Bonvita increases, people get more of Milo. I hope we are together. And we have consumer preferences. We're talking about consumer preferences. This can even cause abnormal demand. There are factors that affect demand. We're discussing factors that affect demand. Of course, things that you like to, you get more of it. Most time you don't even care about price. And this is not a good example, for just and for some people that take tea, or for those people that take weed or take illegal substances. Once they are addicted, don't care. They buy it. Or some people you get to hear people say, I don't like this brand. Is this brand I choose a brand later? Like they can just speak well of that brand. They can influence the market of that brand. Like they can say a lot. In fact, they can get a lot that they start giving out. I'm mentioning consumer preferences now. You just love you prefer Milo to go with that. You can get a lot of it regardless of the price. Even if the price increases or decreases, or someone, okay, a fashionista don't care about the cost of once this is involved. That's also business side. Oh, it's crops that is trending now. You don't care about the amount they're selling it. You don't care about this. Oh, I love crops. Oh, I love cover shoes. Some people love sandals. Like it depends on your preferences. So these are things that actually affect demand. Once you already have a soft spot, yes, you already have soft spot for goods or for an item. Of course, it will definitely affect how you demand for such goods. I hope we are together. Yeah, we talk about population and demographics. Yes, you're talking about population. You're talking about the total number of people staying, occupying an environment or occupying a place. Basically, population is not just about people. It depends on what you are giving, like what you are studying. But yeah, it's talking about population and demographics. We're basically talking about key, like the people there. If the place is overpopulated, demand will be affected because there will definitely be shortage. Yes, no one can even concentration because people are too much in a place. Um, there will be demanding for more. Then that's it. There will now be excess demand over supply. I hope we're together. Okay. Expectations about future prices. Then you get to okay. I say oh or we've read the price of four. Yes. Yes, four is one thing that just increased. I just look over just like they've increased the price of four now. Hey, this one here can yes. Okay, you'll be hearing that I don't know like if you you're aware when every time like that we're so hard about subsidy. Ah, we're gonna go into one subsidy for it, giving us going you're already anticipating that the price of fuel it will increase. Of course people will order, people will hold for. The petrol station will get it down. They will not sell it out. The ones they have, they will not sell it out because they're already anticipating price that will increase. Or if it happens that federal government they I hope you remember I will talk about price ceiling and price floor last. I hope you remember when government okay the government already says that okay this is the minimum amount or this is maximum amount that you must collect for this group and already people already influence the price of goods and now government has brought their policy demand it will affect demand because by the time they are aware even the sellers when they are aware that government will do this to them they want to reduce the price of this thing they want to quickly sell it at that higher price like okay let them sell on time but if they hear that they want to increase it they will not sell it though they will hold the goods you know when you talk about holding now like they will keep it in the store they will keep it in their house see and they'll be expecting that okay in the future the price is right and some because of future prices maybe because of fall this thing dollar lè padà wálẹ̀ or dollar can actually come down let me just say this thing out people can just say to affect okay government policy regulation yes we talk about subsidies and we talk about subsidies and okay we talk about the government policies and tax if the tax imposed on production is high it's really going to affect demand yes if there's high tax the producers they are paying high tax the cost of production will be increased because what makes up the cost of production is basically okay off basically the cost of all factors of production so if there's an increment in tax it's definitely going to affect production going to affect the labor it's going to affect the output so definitely it's going to affect demand. Okay, so now I hope there's no any question on demand, or we should wait till after the discussion. I say supply refers to the quantity of goods and services that producers are willing and able to sell at various prices over a period of time. Yes, when talking about demand and supply, it's just like words and opposites. Buyer, seller, consumer, producer. Yes, that's different. Okay, there's a direct relationship with price. Yes, there's a direct, it's not inverse here. Here, the relationship between the price and quantity supply is direct. Once there is an increase in price, there will be an increase in the quantity supply. The relationship between them is positive. Okay, I've jotted something down. Relationship between price and quantity supply positive. Okay, it involves cost of production and profitability. Yes. When there's favorable or there's low cost of production, profitability, the profit will be increased. Someone like demand curve. Supply curve is a graphical representation of relationship between the price of goods and quantity supplied. There's upward sloping. Yes, demand curve supply curve is the opposite of demand curve. Like the way demand curve is sloping downward from left, demand the supply curve is going upward. So movement along versus shift of the supply curve, just like changes demand and change consumer demand. Same thing applies to supply. So there's change in supply. Rather than there's shift, whether there's inward shift or there's outward shift. And I guess I explained when you're talking about inward shift, when you're talking about basically when you're saying okay, there's an inward shift on a graph, most time there's a reduction. But when you're saying there's an outward shift, that's increment, that's positive, that's addition. Okay. The factors affecting supply, you have cost of input, yes, that's cost of production. That's the cost of production. If cost of production is favorable, if cost of production is low, supply will be perfect too. And technology, there's a good or there's an high level of technology, of course, the supply goods won't be difficult. There will be increments in supply. Okay. Numbers of sellers, number of sellers too can affect supply. If there are more sellers or there are lower sell there are little seller like monopoly, it definitely affect supply. Just expectation about future price. I guess you got it like when I was expectation about future price in demand. As I was talking about um from the consumer. Okay, I guess I got more on seller selling out. Even okay, let me just take it together like the demand and the supply. Now, how it affects the demand, the consumer now is oh, you read that there's going to be a future increment. You heard that the Gary I bought today, said I was there. I bought 100 naira one cup. It's like you're hearing that maybe by next week there will be increase in the price of garri. Of course you can buy more. You get yeah. If the seller or the producer they are expecting that price will increase, they will not sell out more. The hold the wait. The other then is going to be favorable for them. Are you seeing that it's opposite reaction? I hope you are together. Okay, government policies, yes, I've explained that too in demand, like taxes and subsidies. Like if there's favorable tax, if the tax is low, cost of production too is low, there will be more supply. Natural conditions, yes, Natural conditions like rain, earthquake, tornado, or salt, they also affect supply. Yeah, they can actually affect production too. I hope we are together. Okay, now so we're moving to market equilibrium. So excuse me. Market equilibrium is the point where the quantity demand that equals the quantity supply. Basically, when you're talking about equilibrium, you're talking about the point where something is equal. I hope we are together. Is there any, huh? Okay. Okay, so we're talking about equilibrium, we're talking about a point where you have equal. So market equilibrium is a point where quantity demanded is equal to quantity supply. There's no excess demand or supply. None is excess and none is lower to the other. They are both equal. You you need 50 cement, you got 50. You need 50 people to help you work on your farmland, you got 50 people. Like demand is equal to supply. Okay, 50 people want to buy cocoa, 50 people got it. They brought the 50. Like demand is equal to supply. When left out or there's no consumer that is not attended to. There's no any delay from supplier that we were unable to produce more. Yes, like your demand is equal to the supply. What you demanded for is what you got. And a stable market condition. Determination of market equilibrium. It occurs when the demand and supply curve intersect. You know, when you get to hear the word intersect, that's where they meet. That point they intersect, that point they meet. So the key concept, equilibrium price, market clearing price, yes, equilibrium quantity. I hope we understand this because it's basically interpreted here. So now we are in this equilibrium. When I talk about this equilibrium, we are basically talking about the opposite of equilibrium. I hope we are together. Satisfied is satisfied. Equilibrium is equilibrium. Boy, yeah. I hope I'm being relatable. Greater than, less than. So equilibrium is equilibrium. Okay, so disequilibrium occurs when market price is not at equilibrium level. Basically, disequilibrium is when your demand is not equal to supply. When quantity demanded is not equal to quantity supply. It could be that you have excess demand or you have excess supply. That's what this type actually explains, like surplus or shortage. When there's when there's excess supply, there will be surplus. And when there's excess demand, that's when your demand is more than supply. There will be shortage. So change in equilibrium. Equilibrium can change due to shift in demand or supply. Yes, remember when I mentioned outward shift or inward shift, leftward or rightward. Example, in demand and okay, in demand, higher price and quantity, the supply price and lower quantity. I hope we're together. And there's increase in demand and higher price and quantity. Equilibrium can change due to in demand or supply. Either there is an increase in your demand or there is higher price. That this is the example of the changes you get confused. Like is that there is an increase in demand, there's an higher price, or there's an higher quantity demanded, or there's a decrease in supply, there's a higher price, or there's lower quantity supply. So, okay. So now as an application of market equilibrium. Do you remember what I explained market equilibrium to be? Yes, when we get to use when we get to join words. Yeah, let's just use one word. Like the agenda. I love to break it down. I guess you should notice that even in our previous classes. Okay, so application of market equilibrium. Remember when we define a market equilibrium and we say this is when quantity demanded is equal quantity supply. Okay, so the application here one, they said you have price control and oh, price control. We have the ceiling and the floor. Oh, sorry, I thought you discussed this. This is what I was referring to. Yes, started the class. I was like, do you remember? I know we discussed last week. Sorry. Okay, so when I talk about price ceiling, when you say price ceiling, like that's the minimum price that has been set uh, equilibrium, like the minimum price that has been set below equilibrium. When I talk about price floor, that's the hey, when I talk about price ceiling, sorry, right, sorry. When I talk about price ceiling, I talk about the maximum price. I talk about ceiling. Yes, let's talk about ceiling. Ceiling in your house, you know, it's up. Now I'm trying to make it very relatable. Alright, talking about flow. No flow is down now. So when you talk about price ceiling, you're talking about the maximum price that has been set below the equilibrium and can actually shorten. When you're talking about price flow, you're talking about the minimum price that is above the equilibrium price and you can call flows. I hope we are together. So okay, so I'll cite an example. You say, okay, if the equilibrium price of an item is like one to like when you draw your graph now, you got the equilibrium price to be 1 to then government company they now set a price ceiling. What they call it ceiling? I said the maximum. I wish I could get question. I'm so sorry. What they call pricing? I said pricing is the maximum price that has been set below the equilibrium. Like, okay, your equilibrium price here after you're done with your calculation is 1 2. Then government comes with their own price ceiling that okay, oh, this is the maximum price. If, whether your equilibrium price is 1 2 or not, whatever your equilibrium price is, the price ceiling that they are setting is 800. Of course, that's below it. Oh, okay. Government are aware that this is the equilibrium price, oh. But I feel like why should it be that at this point that 400 people demand for bags of Gary, they bought it 12,000 or like I'm sorry. Like okay, why is it that at this point like for 400 people they bought their bags of Gary at this price? Why? This thing has been exaggerated. And they say okay, the equilibrium price for this Gary is 12,000, I is 1 2, I 15,000. The government now says okay, we are going to set our price ceiling to be 800. It's going to be 8,000. It's going to be 80,000. You see that it's below the figure that I mentioned earlier as the equilibrium price. For example, our equilibrium price is ceiling as 80,000. That means this product you must sell it more than 80,000. You see like that, there's going to be shortage. That's what the price ceiling definition I gave earlier that I'm trying to explain now. Next price ceiling is the maximum price that is set below the equilibrium and it can lead to shortage. The equilibrium price is 120,000. Government brought it down to 80,000. Of course there will be shortage. That will be 120,000 minus 80,000. That's 40,000 shortage. I hope I'm being relatable enough. Yeah? Okay. So let's continue. Sorry. So when talking about price flow, I said flow is down now. So is the minimum price that have been set above the equilibrium price. Okay. Um the minimum wage is 1,000 per hour. Uh, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. Okay. So the minimum wage is 1,000 per hour, and then the government sets price floor of 1,200. And that means there's going to be 200 naira difference. I hope I'm being clear enough and things are not getting mixed up. But we still have a long way to go. There's a people price ceiling floor. I hope I broke that down enough because it can actually be confusing. That's why I actually take my time to break it down and cite things and give examples too. Okay, so taxation and subsidies. We are talking about tax. Yeah, compulsory, like tax are compulsory levies that government charge. I'm sure at some point you should have heard the word tax. You should be familiar with tax. So they are compulsory levies that government takes. It's the government that imposes tax on people. It's not your friend that collect tax from you. And we talk about subsidies. Okay, this is the amount that government actually like they remove. It's just to make things easier. I people I say the low income earners. I'm so sorry, I'm very very sorry. I hope you got that again. I said that they are compulsory payments and it's charged by government. But when you're talking about subsidies, we're talking about how government support. I'm so sorry. We're talking about government support low income like the payment, government that makes the payment just to reduce the burden, yes, on the people. I talk about trade policy, talk about the policies that guide and basically international trade. I hope we're together. The rules that govern them and government intervention in trade, like trade policy. No, um, talk about yes the rate like I talk about different methods of collecting tax, whether progressive, regressive. I hope you are familiar with what I'm saying. I are getting me. We government also interfere and protect the interest of consumer low income minors. That's the application of market equilibrium. I hope we got that. Okay, so now we're just basically talking about the introductory part of elasticity today. So, okay, one thing I love about this topic, elasticity, is that it's also something, basically, economics is actually a course. See, the subject that we can relate to and we should be able to relate to. The thing about elasticity, you know elastic now, even if you don't know any elastic, at least you know the elastic that is in your trouser. Or if you don't have a trouser that has elastic band, oh, I'm sorry, you know rubber band. Yes, you know rubber band. And you know your hair packer. So there's elastic there. You know, if you pull it, you know, it responds to your force. It responds to the force. You get, it can increase, it can shrink. Okay. So when we talk about elasticity in economics, this elasticity measures the responsiveness of quantity demanded or supply to change in price. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. Stay on the slide. Elasticity measures the responsiveness of quantity demanded or supply to changes in price or other factors. You know, those other factors you're talking about income. You know, you talk about price elasticity. So when you talk about price elasticity in demand, okay, we talk about types of elasticity. We have price elasticity. We have I'm so sorry. Okay, so we're talking about elasticity, measure the responsiveness of quantity demanded or supply to change in price. And then I have mentioned other factors. I've mentioned income. So we talk about types of elasticity. We have price elasticity of demand. We have price elasticity of supply. We have cost elasticity and income elasticity. Ah, okay. If not, next class we'll break this down. Well, so it's just introduction. Let me introduce us to it. So think about price elasticity of demand. This is good. Just like we said in the definition of elasticity, like measures the degree of responsiveness. It measures the responsiveness of quantity demanded or supply as a result of price or other factors. So we're talking about price elasticity of demand. We're talking about the responsiveness of change, like the responsiveness of demand rather as a result of change in price. How demand responds to change in price. How demand responds to either increment or decrement of price. That's price elasticity. And actually, this also it has formula. Yes, there's a mathematical part to this where we are actually going to calculate. So we're talking about price elasticity of demand. We're talking about the formula now. If you want to, okay, the literature, just like we have, when I said law of demand now, I gave us the function too. If you remember when I was like, Q equals to A plus B T, where less than zero. So that's the mathematical form of that law of demand. So price elasticity, when I talk about price elasticity, the formula, you say, okay, percentage change in quantity demanded divided by percentage change in price. I hope you got that down. Same as elasticity too. Percentage change in quantity, elasticity supply. Percentage change in quantity supply over percentage change in price. So when you're talking about cross elasticity, cross elasticity, we are talking about it in demand. Talking about percentage change in quantity demanded of quantity A applied with A over price of with okay. I hope I'm being relatable enough. I'm so sorry. I've been so sorry. I hope you're getting something. So the application, we are definitely going big on elasticity because they're going to be calculations. So I hope we do well to try some questions and then yes, so we can discuss together in the class. So I was talking about market, okay, applications, inelastic versus elastic and implications. Yes, we have inelastic, we have elastic. In under the types, we have types to under the price elasticity. If not for the introduction, let me not bore us with a lot of stuff today because of course we are definitely going to go deeper. Because I'm going to talk about the price where we have the fairly elastic, fairly inelastic. That's very important, and that's the point thing. Elastic, fairly inelastic. When you talk about zero and infinity, we have to break down their implications on elasticity and strategic pricing by firms, by implication on elasticity, the policy making and welfare analysis. Yeah. I hope we are still together. That's the end of the slide though. Okay, let's take this again. So tonight we talked about price system elasticity and we discussed demand. We discussed the definition of demand. We discussed the key points. Hey, like I need to talk to you. I'm so sorry. I guess I didn't actually talk about price system. Like I didn't give us um the definition. Actually say a lot about it. We're talking about um price system. Yeah, basically talking about the process which the monetary value of commodity or factor of production is determined. Like the monetary value. Price system is basically labor, the value like okay this in this production this is the value of labor that got involved. You're talking about the value of money. Okay, this is the money that we spent on labor, whether capital It's or you use machine or you use manual or you use main. You get like the monetary value. And again, we're talking price system. Are talking about basically it's just about the monetary value of factor of production in production of the company. I hope I'm making sense. Hope it's not sounding like jargon now. Okay, so now we move to the definition of demand. We discuss demand as the quantity of goods consumer is willing and able to buy at a particular period of time. I say that okay, period of time in accounts in economics, you're basically talking about a period of a year, except it's stated that okay, 3 years, 4 years, if not, basically we're talking about period of time, we're talking about a year. And then we discuss the key points, talk about desires, ability, and willingness to pay. And I mentioned that okay, until demand is backed up, until your desire is backed up with payment, demand doesn't have occur. It's just a mere desire. Another one inversely related to prices. That's when I was like, okay, that means when one is high, the other is low, or one is low, the other is high. When the price is high, demand will be low. When the price is low, demand will be high. So they are inversely related. There's a negative relationship between them. And express the units per period of time. Yes, you discuss them individually, and I talk about period of time, period they are given, basically a year or whatever you are given. The month of whatever graphical representation of the relationship between price and quantity demanded. Then I have just to try and get the graph, research for it, just the graph. Then you just study, and I try to explain when I was talking about x-axis, y-axis. I hope we can get a picture of that from our mathematics class when you plot a graph. Okay, then downward sloping movement along same side versus shift of the demand curve. And this was when I talk about change in demand and change in quantity demanded. I was like, okay, when there's a change in demand, that means there's a shift in demand. But when there's a change in quantity demanded, that means there's movement along same demand curve. When you're talking about shift in demand or change in demand, that's when you're talking about inward or outward shift. Talk about the factors affecting demand, how our income level affects demand, the price of other goods, consumer preference, population and demographics, the expectation about future prices, government policies. We discuss how all this affects demand. We discuss supply too. I mentioned that supply is basically the opposite of demand, where you have buyer, you have seller, you have consumers, you have producers. So demand is with consumers, supply is with buyers, and supply is with producers. Sorry, I'm so sorry. Okay, so there's a direct relationship with price. The higher the price, the higher the quantity supply, and there's a positive relationship here. Like I said, that is opposite of demand. There's a negative relationship in demand. There's a positive relationship. There's a direct relationship. Yeah, there's a inverse relationship there. Indirect relationship. So it involves cost of production and profitability. About okay, cost of production is high. Of course, there will be much supply, but cost of production is low. Supply will be encouraged. Okay, supply curve, just like demand, graphical representation of the supply curve. As that one is sloping down from the left, this one is going upward. Just the opposite movement along same movement along versus shift of supply curve. Just like there's changing supply, there's also change in quantity supply. We have change in supply, we have inward and the outward shift. when you're talking about change in supply, movement along same curve. And we have factors that affect demand, cost of input. I said cost of production. I said cost of production. Then about technology, number of sellers, excuse me, expectation about future prices, government policies, tariffs and subsidies. And I try to explain what what taxes are. They are compulsory charges or levies that is imposed by government. Subsidies, they are payment that is made by government. Ability to reduce the burden from people or from low income earners. I have natural conditions, repeated earthquake, rain, I see that also. No, the rain period, producers get encouraged to produce more raincoat, umbrellas. I hope we get this again the second time. Then we talk about market equilibrium, the point where your quantity demanded is equal to quantity supply. There's no form of excess demand or supply. There's a stable market condition. It's not like you're coming back, oh, you're saying that demand to change, your supply is really it's constant. Once the market is at equilibrium, your demand is equal to supply. Determination of the market um, equilibrium because it occurs where the demand and supply curve intersect. And I said intersect, that means the point that they meet, the point that they cross, that point will go. That's the equilibrium. And there is market clearing price and equilibrium quantity. Then about this equilibrium, I explained that okay, just like um, supply and demand, equilibrium and disequilibrium, boy, yeah, the opposite. So when you say equilibrium is where demand is equal supply, then disequilibrium is where demand is not equal to supply. Because when there's no okay, the market price is not at equilibrium, it could be that there's excess supply or there's excess demand. So right there's surplus or there's shortage. When we talk about change in equilibrium, that's there we discuss the shift. There's increase in demand, high price and quantity, or decrease in supply, higher price and lower quantity. Then the application of market equilibrium, it will discuss price control, and discuss price ceiling and price floor. And I explained that okay, when we talk about price ceiling, just like your house, your ceiling is up and floor is down. We are talking about pricing, we are talking about the maximum price that the government has actually set. The maximum price the government has set below equilibrium and it could lead to shortage. And we are talking about floor and price floor. Then we are talking about the minimum price that the government has actually set above equilibrium that can lead to surplus. Talk about policy. I said trade policy, ability rules and regulation that guides international trade. Like, I was just like international trade is basically about international trade. And government intervention effect, that's the effect of tax and subsidies. And then we discuss elasticity and I mentioned cho- your children that has elastic and I made an example of that. And it's the elasticity that expand, it can increase or it can shrink. Then we discuss elasticity economy as it measures the responsiveness of quantity demanded or supply to changes due to price or other factors like income. Because price elasticity of demand. And I actually explain okay, price elasticity of demand carry the degree of responsiveness, like the change, how change in price affects demand. I explained that, and I said okay, and I gave us the formula too. I said that that's the percentage change in quantity demand divided by percentage change in price. I said we're going to do the same for supply to percentage change because the supply divided by percentage change in supply. We talk about cross elasticity and income elasticity. Then the applications inelastic versus elastic demand and the applications to strategic pricing by firm and policy making and welfare analysis. Okay, so that was the summary of all we did tonight. Is there any questions?